That better for you?
Perfect.
Awesome. All good. Let me know when to move.
Okay, my talk this evening is, as you can see, is mail art, focusing on actual envelopes that have gone through the mail and the great creativity that some of the senders have used over the years. Next. I'm not, although I was a stamp collector in my younger years, my fascination over the years has grown toward postal history and history of the mail service and collateral material. So that's what has kind of moved me into this area. This is just a brief outline of what we'll be seeing this evening in terms of presentation. Next. There was a formal mail art movement during the 1950s. It was kind of a concept by American artist Ray Johnson, and became quite popular, and people would create their artwork on envelopes and mail it between their friends and colleagues. And it was, network was named the New York Correspondence School. And the postal system provided not only a transit, but a new creative connection between people who never would have likely interacted. As you can see, Ray Johnson had a artistic eye of his own, and this is one of his work. Next. This is some more conceptual art from that so-called mail art in that period of time. It's not my particular artistic fondness in terms of the artistic merit, but I just mentioned that there was a formal named mail arts movement, and there we go. Next. In 1973, the magazine Art in America actually had an article about mail and mail art. And so if anyone does further research into sort of the history and the evolution of this whole area, there are materials available. Next. Of course, art on mail goes way, way back in time. Here is, these are not in my collection, but back in the 1870s, for example, there were people who had an artistic bent, both with pen and ink, but also with in color, watercolor, and oils. And here's a couple of examples from the George Howard, the 9th Earl of Carlisle, and he would illustrate his family's holidays and posted decorated envelopes to his children. Two of these are dated, one in 1876 and one in 1877. These come on the auction market from time to time and actually go for quite a bit of money. They're quite popular among postal historians and collectors. Next. The rest of the items in this presentation are from my collection that I've accumulated over many decades. This is a particularly interesting one. It's a folded letter sheet with stampless cover dating back to 1811 from a a letter to Amadeus Robbins in Baltimore, and you can see the manuscript cancellation on the left. To the right is a pen and ink skillful profile that was done on the back of the folded letter, the original art. It's fairly good rendering of this friend. Next. Here's a kind of a humorous one. This is an 1860s letter from Harvard University student T.R. Harris to his friend G.E.O. Mixer, who was home in Hardwick recovering from a case of measles. And the letter mentions Briggs sends his regards and wants you to know whether you still have any choice in the wood, etc. of your coffin. We wouldn't for anything cross you in your last moments in any which, however slight. If you'd like it, I'll call at the first undertakers and order a splendid specimen of the casket style. If you don't arrive to take possession by the last of next week, I'll send you some patterns. So a couple of Harvard students having a great fun at their friends'
Expense.
being home with the measles. You can see a little skull and crossbones on the flap of the envelope on the right, imitating the wax seal. Next. This is a fairly common Colombian stamped envelope, 1893 issue of stamped envelopes, and it has kind of a nice hand-drawn map of Columbus's voyage. It ties into the theme of it ties into the theme of the stamps. Next, there's this is a rather a spectacular cover. It's an oversized cover. It's almost 8.5 by 11 in size, although I've photographically shrunk it down to show on an exhibit page. But this was front and back of an oversized cover mailed in 1896 from Brooklyn, New York to Denmark, Denmark. Next. This was what was inside of that large cover. During Victorian times, there was quite a craze in terms of calligraphy and different styles of fancy writing. So it's not unusual to find something as ornate and fancy as this. Next. This is a watercolor painting. And you can see the addressee on the right hand corner, and it was in a way sort of instructions to the RFD, Rural Free Delivery Carrier, with his horse and wagon going up the sloping, winding road, knowing that the addressee lived right up there at the top of the hill. Next. Here's some pencil drawing. As I say, there are all kinds of medium that have been used on nail art. This is pen and ink is probably the most common, but there is pencil and of course various watercolor and oil and different kinds of inks. Next. It's kind of a fanciful one. Here's both ink, India ink, and watercolor, and a bit of collage too. The well, the letters and the addressees' names were cut out and stuck on, so we have a variety of mediums. Even the Trump eye or the visual use of a safety pin on the back. It's not a real pin. It's just a artistic rendering, looking like it's holding the flap to the envelope. And so the people who did these sent these letters and mail were really quite creative and made best use of their artistic talents. Next. So I'm particularly fond of this very, very lovely Japanese watercolor. Sort of enhancement of the cover. Next. Some of the artwork is very, very subtle and underplayed, but I find to be quite tasteful and pleasing. As again, ink and watercolor would be a good return address. Next. Another Japanese watercolor cover. As you can see, my emphasis is on the actual envelope rather than on the stamp. But without the envelope, the stamps would really have little or no use or value. We are talking about mail. Next. Here's another kind of understated, but I find it somewhat amusing pen and ink piece with someone having a large leaf using as an umbrella or a rain shield. This is from the Cameroons in Africa too. Next. That's a more no high artwork, but they said they had a lot of fun.
Sorry, Richard, can you hear us now?
Roger.
Can you see the screen?
Roger that too.
All right. Sorry about that. I kicked out the power cord.
Next. There's another kind of a whimsical cover mailed from a rural RFP, rural free delivery route to a friend. Or recent. Yeah, our work continues to this day. I'm sure if you were really? Oh, yes, I'm sure if you went to emptied a few mail bags and went through them, you'd find. Interesting.
There's a resurgence of. There's actually a Facebook club and Instagram thing on stamp art, and not stamp art, on envelope art.
Ah. This example of calligraphy, and I group it into art because you need to have a fairly great sense of balance in art and design. This is a type of calligraphy with the broken letters in the middle.
And what's with What's with the broken letters? I don't understand that. Was that like a piece of string or something?
They put a piece of string or paper across it to get that effect, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't intentional to be broken, right?
No,
Okay.
what you see is what was intended
Okay.
to create that effect. Next. This is another example of calligraphy. I can't quite read it from my distance here, but there's poetic and instruction to the postal delivery fellow.
To New Hampshire I fain would go, o'er hill and vale, through rain or snow, until I reach fair Plymouth town. Arrived at last, please put me down. Mrs. E.G. Sargent will inquire, for me it is my greatest desire, to have her read without delay, so she can answer right away. That's pretty awesome, actually.
It is.
Yeah,
It is. And I get, they have the actual address.
the address.
in bold, block
Right,
letter.
right there.
And Plymouth better be a small town.
Yep, that's
Yeah.
probably
That's
mail.
all you get.
It's rural route, so it's
Yeah,
mail
it's a
pickup.
rural
They're
route.
not getting delivered to the house.
That was one of my favorite. I got many years ago. I couldn't resist the dollar boxes. Next.
Wow.
Here, this is a little bit bolder calligraphy, but as I said, there's a whole spectrum. You could do a whole exhibit and a whole collection of calligraphy, and I have seen pamphlet covers actually going back into early American colonial times that have some rather remarkable handwriting.
What is the name of the town there? I can't.
It's Pawtucket. It's in Rhode Island.
Oh, no, I got the Rhode Island, but I couldn't. Oh,
Yeah.
Pawtucket. Oh, that's the P. Oh, I couldn't see.
Yeah.
I didn't see the.
I don't know whether or not OCR software nowadays would be able to read this.
The
No,
Yeah.
It's kind of tough.
Mulberry Street, right? Mulberry Street.
Mulberry Street.
Pawtucket.
This is Josephine
I couldn't make out. 14?
Fortain.
14, yeah.
And we have a generation gap of Americans who were never taught script writing, so
Yeah.
they would have a double problem with this.
It actually looks like modern graffiti.
Yes,
The style of it looks like modern
Yeah,
graffiti.
more than calligraphy,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Or steampunk or something.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's pretty cool.
It is incredibly artistic.
as I say, there are really no boundaries to this particular collecting area. Next. Here again is the kind of a fun cover. Boston, with a patriotic theme.
Postal cashier's section. Stamp unit.
And, ordering current issues.
It's really cool.
Next. Ah. It speaks for itself. And it's a large size number 10 envelope. It's a government stamped envelope. And that is all original pen and ink, India ink, pen and ink. Anyone teaching artistic perspective can use this as an example. Next. This is a student letter from Deacon College to Concord, Ohio. Yeah, University.
Got the USS Enterprise on there.
Oh, that's right. And the Klingon bird of prey.
Yeah.
Edie had an admirer.
This is really cool stuff.
Next. This example of more modern, and it was not, it was, and it still isn't unusual for
That's amazing.
to send, birthday invitations or kids' party invitations or in this particular style.
Now, what are the postal regulations in terms of, how busy it is or how it might interfere with them being able to deliver it?
Well, they're really quite flexible.
Okay.
They prefer it to be read by machine and bar it automatic. As long as there is a clear address.
So you won't get a non-machine readable extra charge, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, and I think if there was a group of 6-year-old party invitations or something, they would
Make the effort.
they would make an effort to
Read it and deliver.
let it go.
Unless it's the Metro Post Office.
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Unless it's a who?
I'll tell you after this.
but but it goes back to your question there, do they still,
Right,
Is it still done?
yeah, this was
Indeed,
very modern.
Indeed, yes, so I wanted to just give a sense of the broad spectrum of.
Well, it was a little while ago, because it was still 32 cents.
Well-
right?
It's 1996, I think the postcard says.
Yeah. Two different
It was
customers,
34 cents ago.
yeah,
Yeah, exactly. It was 6 ago. That's right.
next. And
How fun.
Very
Oh, I
good.
love that. Boston.
Now, that would be really hard to read. It did jump out at me.
It's got computer stuff on the bottom.
machine read it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
figured it out.
really?
Well, look at the barcode.
Yeah, I see that.
No,
It's impressive.
so.
It really is impressive.
To
Yeah.
answer your question, David, the Postal Service has anticipated this, and their machinery, and this goes back quite a number of years, the sophistication of the postal reading machines now is even far more advanced. So, and it gets to your almost graffiti-like, lettering and so forth, so you can see that. Next.
This is nice.
And Amy was, Charlie.
This is from this century.
Yeah. Her dad was
2004.
Uh-huh.
Her dad was a very advanced philatelist. Died all too young, but one of the leading collectors of postal seals of the world, and as well as the United States newspaper stamps. It was leading expert. This has not only the calligraphy, but also stickers, which are very popular, of course, among children. So those flowers there are actually stick-ons, not hand-done artwork. Next.
Oh, my.
Bouncing back in time, but again, throughout history, it wasn't just the art movement of the 70s or even resurgence of today. People actually had time on their hands, and
And talent.
they weren't on Facebook or on television or anything else. They were using their minds and their creative talents to send letters, actual written letters, to their friends and colleagues. Next. This is a grant letter sheet, United States Postal Stationery. It's a large sheet of paper that you wrote the message on the back and then folded up and sealed the side flaps and the back flap to make an envelope. It was kind of a short-lived experiment, but it's very rare to see mail art on postal stationery. We did see the Columbian exhibition envelope, and this probably is one of few of any, if not unique, examples on the grant letter sheet. But it creates a little whimsy, and it's prized in my collection. Next.
Wow.
We're getting toward the end of calligraphy here, but this takes calligraphy to the next level. We have not only pen and ink, but then we picked up the watercolor palette and kept on going to
It's exquisite. How do you find these? George, where do you find these?
oh, these were collected over a period of probably 30 or 40 years.
Oh my.
Just going to, different stamp shows or looking online, might find one here and one there. A couple of them were in small philatelic auctions. There might sometimes be a small grouping of
Amazing.
unusual envelopes, or just going through the dollar boxes. And because as you can see, I don't think there were any exceptions that we've seen or will see of the postage stamp that has any particular monetary value over what's the catalog minimum now, 25 cents.
Something like that. Now, is this to the same person? You had another one that was to Pawtucket. Was this the same?
No, different person.
No,
Different
it's
person.
a different person,
Yeah.
different address.
Okay.
Just happened to be Pawtucket, but
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say, a lot of them are going to Pawtucket.
Now, next.
Ooh, wow.
The envelope is a United States stamp envelope back in 1907, 1910 period, but there did some paper pasted on, artwork done on the envelope, but it's tied on there, so we know it wasn't a later creation. And there's the enclosure. Next. It was asked earlier about the Mulready. Of course, May 6, 1840 is a key date for postage stamp collectors, but not every stamp collector is aware that same day Great Britain issued the Mulready letter sheets. And these were, the artwork on there was created by, designed by William Mulready. They were not particularly popular. The artwork is supposed to depict the British Empire in the center, and then the various far reaches of the world that the British Empire extended, Africa and the Caribbean and so forth, all in kind of caricature. And the idea was, the concept was Britannia sending letters to the world. The correct usage of these, the postage indicated that the amount of postage was in fact paid, either 1 penny or a tuppenny, indicated by on the back flap. There are actually side flaps and a top flap, so you wrote your or printed your message on the back, folded it up to letter size. And the correct handling by the British Postal Service was a Maltese cross cancel on Britannia, on the center there. That was where the postal cancellation was to go. And was,
George, excuse me, George.
Yes.
Hi, Richard. Hi. I bought a couple of facsimiles of these, and the thing is, if you're looking for Mulready covers, you got to be very careful that you're not getting a reprint. The ones I
Yeah.
got, one of the ones that I got was a reprint, and it was postally used with a regular British stamp on it, but it wasn't the authentic Mulready envelope, which really cost quite a lot if you're looking for them.
right, yes, you're correct there. And what I was about to say, these were not terribly popular, and the British public made fun of them. And there is a whole collecting area of Mulready facsimiles
Yeah,
that
right.
were privately done, spoofing and making sometimes satiric and sometimes crude fun of Britannia. And these were used and also valid for postage, but they had to have either the penny black or the twopenny blue, depending on the postal rate, on them and cancel. And collecting both the Mulready, these are in fact both original Mulreadys, but also collecting the facsimiles, which are not inexpensive. Some of them are quite rare, and there's a whole catalog of all of the various reproductions and fantasies of that. It's a whole collecting area in and of itself.
Had you heard, I had heard that Roland Hill thought that these were gonna take off and that postage stamps really weren't gonna be the thing.
Yes, yeah,
Interesting.
but not popular among the
A
British.
lot more expensive to produce too.
Yeah. There, and for those who are topically and thematically inclined, there's somewhere in there's an umbrella, and there's an elephant, and so forth. For some topical and thematic collectors, if they want a fairly decent or high award, if they don't have one of these Mulreadys, number.
See in the upper left-hand corner?
Yeah.
And camels.
Yeah.
Camels, wow.
Yeah,
Camel,
just
yeah.
above the elephant.
Oh, yeah, there are a lot of topical
Yeah.
and thematic elements there, and if you don't have one of these, judges in the topical thematic area will really downgrade you. Yeah.
There's
Oh, yeah.
tea packets
Where do
Wow.
you see the tea packet?
next to the elephant, the guys with the square, that's bundled tea.
Ah,
That's what a tea bundle looked like.
And Todd, I'm sad to say there's not a
There's
squirrel.
not a squirrel in sight. I was
Yeah.
looking, I'm not.
there's a deer.
You looked, yeah, I've looked at that.
So, say that again. So if you're a thematic collector of elephants, it's just,
Yeah.
and you don't have one of these, you would get dinged for that?
Mhm.
Well, I mean, the thing about it.
At a higher level,
Well, but I
obviously.
mean, the thing about like being a topical exhibitor is often your stuff is very recent, and it's hard to show rarity or difficulty of acquisition, or showing a different spread of different kinds of things that you have. But if you have an old letter sheet like this, that's a cool way to show something different and to.
If you're a classical
Bundle
British
things.
stamp collector, and you don't show a penny black or a penny blue,
Yeah.
you're not so good.
Mm.
And if you're a postal stationery collector and you don't have a Mulready on that same, from the same era, from the same day, in
I
fact,
say,
ideally, if you were trying for high metal in a topical thematic collection and you had a Mulready, you'd want it used from either to an exotic area or have an unusual cancellation, just to add more difficulty of acquisition and sophistication to your collection, but just having a nice, clean Mulready like this is kind of a minimum. So there you go. But sorry, Todd, no squirrel.
That's all right. I'm good. I'd still buy it.
So now we're in an area of printed art. I didn't, you can go in thousands of different directions and depth of that. But anyway, this is the one ready. Next. Oh, this is a copy of the one of the Robert Siegel auction catalog sales from years ago, which they were featuring some rare British stationery. Obviously, I don't know discover, but here's a penny black used on an early one of the fantasy letter sheets. Next.
Oh my.
This is printed art. It actually is printed. They were the original. Well, it was hand lettered. Charles Farrar Brown was a very well-known American humorist writer. He wrote under the pseudonym Artemus Ward, and he satirized and made fun of most anything political or goings on or doings at the time. And those of you who are familiar with Civil War mail, there were a lot of patriotic covers, usually featuring flags or symbols of the Union and so forth. But old Artemus Ward there was writing home and telling him of his travails as a soldier in the Union Army. And since Ward's books and prose were so popular, he published many books, but also was well published in newspapers and magazines of the time. And one of his writings was reduced on this card with tongue in cheek, and I added it to my collection. Technically, it is a Civil War patriotic cover, but of an unusual bent. Next. Here again, these were envelopes that were made available to tourists on ships or in the Far East. It looks like original art, but there actually is art that's been printed and sold in quantity for use of tourists in the Far East. I think that's ship's cancel. I haven't looked at it for quite some time. Receiving mark.
The Library of Congress there, 26.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. This, that's right. This was part of a correspondence. There was someone went to the, picked it up in the Far East and mailed it to her library colleague who worked at the Library of Congress. All mail coming into the Library of Congress, if it's personal or on library business, that's gets a receiving stamps.
It was delivered pretty quickly because if you look at it, it was mailed May 1st.
But it looks like it says California. I think it may have been coming from the coast.
From the coast.
And then getting to Washington.
Someone just came back from the.
So that's what, by train? Is that how you get from California to?
1911.
Yeah. Quick service. Next. This is a different kind of printed art. You can get into advertising colors, covers with hundreds and hundreds of thousands. But I just put an example in here of some unusual printed, illustrated art on a United States stamped envelope. Next. From time to time, someone was asked, where do I get all of these from? Most of them I bought one at a time, either at a stamp dealer's table or occasionally in small auctions. But also occasionally there are large named collections that come on the market. Here's another auction catalog from H.R. Harmer Inc. A number of years ago of the Sapphire collection of illustrated. The focus was on advertising covers, but obviously it's advertising forms of art that occur. So they're real eye candy, just glancing through the catalog itself.
I mean, the registration of the colors is remarkable.
They're really beautiful.
Good.
Yeah.
Is that done in German? I mean, who
No.
would print that?
No, actually, well, during World War One, of course, before World War One, most of the picture postcards on sale in the US were printed in Germany because they had the technology and could do multicolor registrations quite well. But when World War One broke out, gift shops and other venues in the US had to rely on US printers, and the printing art and registration, color and artwork advanced quite precipitously. So you have some just magnificent eye-catching covers. Next. This is a little more recent. This is you can, when you get into the area of birthday covers, event covers, this was the anniversary of some asset, I forget how you pronounce it, the town in Connecticut, it's
Simsbury.
Simsbury, in the 300th anniversary, got a special postal cancellation. And some enterprising artists and collectors and philatelists did some handmade artwork. And if you get into, as I say, first day cover collecting or special event covers, there's no end of hand colored art. Some first day covers or well-known artists, cachets on them can sell anywhere from $200 to $500 to $1,500 just for a first day cover. Because of that rarity, as you know.
Now, how long would they have had that pictorial cancel where it says 300 years of the town? I mean, is that for like a month or something, or would you have it for the whole year?
Well, it varies. Usually, it's for a month, but I have seen arrangements made with the Postal Service that they'll actually authorize it and use it 2, 3, 6 months ahead of the anniversary event, quote, publicize the event, as well as not. Some of the early ones, like the Pilgrim anniversary or the arrival of Mayflower in 1920 celebration, that cancellation was used about 12, 15 months leading up to and through the whole year event of the different activities of that anniversary. Next. And another kind of musical.
Going to the same person.
Yeah.
He may be the artist.
He's yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Could be.
Yeah, it could be.
Or now.
And usually most of these, there might be one, there might be 3 or 8 or a dozen of covers made, so it depends on the event and rarity and interest. I'm sure there are dozens, if not hundreds, of similar type of things with squirrels on them, for example.
There's definitely a couple I've seen.
But finding them in that dealer's box in the rural Nebraska or something, or the stamp show in northern Georgia. It is the challenge next. And this is both pen and ink and watercolor. Time on postal rate change, I say not only first day of the issue of a stamp or a cancellation, but of postal rate changes and so forth. So philatelists and artists both have used their time and their talents in creative ways.
That's a great cover. I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
cover. It reminds me of Ziggy.
Next. And then
Another rate.
42 cents rate, and someone creating their own postage stamp through stamps.com. So you can be creative not only in your cover art, but also in your
The stamp you create.
your stamp design.
Not anymore.
Oh, you can't do that anymore?
It's closed out.
Ah,
In UK, here, and in Singapore, they're all closed.
And for the advanced postal historian, it's also an example of the postal permit rates and usages. So it can be attractive in many different collections or collecting.
It's a very unusual postmark. The circle date stamp looks rather suspect.
Yeah, it's probably a private creation.
Yeah.
It's a postal permit,
Hmm.
which you can buy from the post office and create your own. There is some latitude in creating your own cancellation and permit indications. Next. Wartime has inspired a lot of wonderful artwork on mail. For the soldiers of the line as well as officers, there can be a lot of downtime in between military activities. And of course, letters home and letters from home are kind of the lifeblood of the spirit of, or keeping morale and spirits up. Here's and drawn. Hasten this letter, folks. Can't get it home to Mississippi. Next. This is particularly lovely. This is a watercolor pen and ink letter from a soldier home to West Springfield, Massachusetts, showing one of the flippers airplanes used during the 1940s. Took off and landed on water. Next. This is one of my favorite ones. This 1944 Christmas greeting letter reads in part, I'm still looking patiently each day for my favorite newspaper to arrive. You see, I was recently given a gift of a 6-month subscription, and I think it's the nicest present a fellow overseas could have. Sincerely, a former press carrier. So he's a young kid who grew up delivering newspapers and enlisted. He was off in the Pacific Theater, and someone gave him a subscription to the hometown newspaper, which was very eagerly and welcomed. So that's both the envelope and the enclosure.
So if you were to get a newspaper from the Cleveland Press, would there be a wrapper and a stamp on it?
Yes. There was even a time where some of the major newspapers reduced the newspaper in format, so it's kind of tiny, and it was easier.
Not microfiche.
It was not microfiche, but the same idea because of the bulk and the weight. Priority in the military was men, material, and supplies. They knew that morale and mail were high up there in the things there, but they were a next tier lower, and that's where you get into V-mail and microfilm mail, and that's another whole talk and presentation I have. But this goes to the actual artwork on regular envelopes and enclosures. I say this is one of my favorites. And as you can see, the mail was duly censored as was required in the theater at the time, or it was sent to the States. Next. Another, again, an event cover, VJ Day.
What are the, like, just sway marks or something that are on the indicia?
Indicia, yeah.
I mean, is that saying that it's not done by air?
I don't think that one is. I think someone just initially used a, you can see the rest with a hand stamp. It's done at 90 degree,
I
90
see.
degree angle.
I
So
see.
that was done at the,
Those are
probably
just killer bars.
at kilobars
Okay.
at APO 660. And then later during the sending,
Gotcha.
it was sent through a
Okay.
canceling machine. Next. Again, another kind of a popular one. There's a huge correspondence that was saved of mail that was to and from the Philco Corporation, which was very involved in the war effort. And it was getting constant reports and feedback from all the theaters throughout the world. And this was a report received, and the sender had a few spare hours before the mailbag was sealed and sent off to be a little creative. Next. Some more mail art. Yeah. During the war, the 6-cent airmail rate was reduced to 5 cents. And the post office had millions of stamped envelopes that they prepared for use in the various theaters around the world. So they ran them through canceling machines and revalued them 6 cents to 5 cents. So those are 2 examples of revalued envelopes.
No censor. I mean, if they'd had a censor, they could have like crossed out where it said Guam on it.
Yeah. Next.
I think this is 1948.
I'm sorry?
I think the postmark was 1948.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was thinking when you were saying that, that's why I hesitated.
Okay.
Again, This is a more recent philatelic publication called U.S. Stamps. And they had a feature article on mail art. Included it just as a kind of a showy cover printed on the cover of the journal. It's been the same theme of the military artists during the World War II. Thanks. Next, and
Oops, sorry.
yep, no, that's all right. No, there you go. During wartime, members of the military and support staff are also often given the franking privilege, so that they can send their letters home free of postage. And the postal rules are that you just write free soldier's mail on the upper right-hand corner where the stamp would be. But we don't always follow the rules. Sometimes we're creative right on the envelope, and sometimes some soldiers would take stickers or make their own quote postage stamps unquote to put on the envelopes. So these
Kind of looks
are-
like a British Guiana kind of.
yeah.
I kind of like that.
I think it's.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, it does.
I think it's your plain old Denison
Label.
Denison label
Yeah.
from Framingham,
That's right.
Massachusetts, that he happened to have instead of labeling his military supplies, he made his own British Guiana creation.
Well, that was pretty cool. The parachute, free delivery.
The ship's really nice.
That, yeah,
Nice
that
detail.
was- seriously,
Yeah.
all that.
So it's not always the envelope, but sometimes the quote stamp unquote that receives the artwork, but it deserves to be part of the whole story. Next. We go into a little different area now. When we think of letters and mail, we think of paper envelopes. But not all envelopes have been made with paper. These two envelopes are made from very thin wood veneer that were carefully folded up and sealed and sent through the mail. The top one has a little artwork too, but that's actually wood veneer envelopes.
And I think the sheets inside are that too. I think they're.
These two unfortunately did come with contents. They just received them. And add to the uniqueness and difficulty of acquisition and added bonus points for the judges. The top one has a added auxiliary cancellation, and the bottom one a nice receiving mark. So we need to impress judges when they're doing exhibits. Next. This again a different wood veneer stained fairly dark, but
Be hard to get an address on it.
yeah, a little hard to read. Next.
Whoa.
This is made from a sheet of copper.
Oh, that is so cool.
A sheet of copper, and how do we seal the flap? Yes. Soldering iron. Just work it out and we'll seal this sucker
It's
up.
cool until you want to open it up.
The oxidation has taken the shine off of this envelope, but it's still with us and it's in my collection.
Was it open?
It was, yeah.
Oh, that is so cool.
With tin snips.
Next. Birch bark. I've in fact, in my youth, I used to be a trip director and guide in the Northwoods of Maine. And were many a postcard and envelope that I made out of Birch bark and sent a letter home. I have to be pretty careful in folding it because it'll break unless you keep it nice and moist and so forth. But anyway, the top one was already envelope not only made with birch bark, but it was sealed with spruce gum. I don't know if any of you have ever
Yeah,
had spruce gum. It's pretty good.
I've
The
made,
gum never wears out. You could chew it.
I've made baskets and canisters out of birch bark.
Yeah.
I've never thought about like making a postcard or something. That's a really cool idea.
These, this is the real deal, and it's gone through the mail. Next,
You got a flip flop?
huh?
You got a flip flop? It was a thing a little while ago. People were sending flip flops through the mail to each other.
Oh,
You can literally put a stamp on it and.
I've sent a coconut, you know, and
Yep.
that's sort of a.
one of the choice items in my ephemera collection of things is a little apart from this presentation, is a men's detachable shirt collar.
Oh, cool.
It was mailed probably in the 1930s between two well-known philatelists at the time. It was mail special delivery from California to the East Coast. So it was folded in half, but actually went through the mail. Where envelopes are not restricted to rectangular or square form. Although once you get into various shapes, the Postal Service is not too keen on going through the machines. So there are surcharges and penalties, extra charges, so forth. But here's an old one and a new one, triangular shaped, 19th century stamps cover, from a postmaster using his 3 franc and the more recent triangular cover. Next. Rhomboid shape. This is one from 1864 from Tennessee to some lady. It's Sandusky, Ohio.
I was at home a short while ago and the ladies pronounced me good looking. Your mother don't count, son.
There's actually a whole collecting area of these, this type of mail for men looking for ladies.
This is more prison.
This
guy.
from a basement, yeah.
Well, clerking in the prison office, so,
Yeah. And in that period, you would sometimes find advertisements in newspapers and looking for ladies and so forth. So,
previous match.
so I think this is a 2 for a 3 for here. Has a rhomboid shape. I've put it on a white background so you don't really get the full effect of the shape of the envelope, but there we are. Next. Here's gives you a better sense of rhomboid.
I keep wanting to think they're just kind of like tilted back,
Yeah. It's, the real deal. And so next. This is well, again, going back to paper envelopes, but if you go into detail into the history of the envelope, there are many fine envelopes that are made from handmade papers and specialty papers, and here's an example of handmade paper. Next. And I have another exhibit of mail art on postcard. That's for another time, next. Maybe a stamp collector, to mail a letter, this stamp is worthless without the envelope. You can pay your hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars for that stamp. But it's only a stamp.
That was really cool.
Yeah,
Well done.
That was really cool.
Well done.
I enjoyed that a lot.
enjoyed it.
That
How
was
interesting.
really cool. Do you have, you own that copper?
Yes,
Would you mind? And sometime
Hmm.
bringing it in, just,
Sure.
I would love to look at that, because I just think that's really cool. I've never even thought of.
Now, could you shine it up? Could you take off the oxidation?
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I did, I probably